Hello, Northwest Local School District. This is Nikki Flynn, and I am going to talk with all of you today about cyberbullying. So, cyberbullying is any kind of bullying using an electronic device, such as a cell phone, a laptop, or tablet. It can be done through any kind of social media sites or through chatting, websites, text messaging. So, any way that students are communicating with each other online using a device. We all are pretty familiar with cyberbullying through, just being mean or harassing someone, but there are other types of cyberbullying that you might not be aware of. So a couple other types. One is exclusion. So this is when students might deliberately leave someone out of an activity and not invite them. Like maybe they're all having a sleepover and they don't invite one student, something like that. And then trolling is when somebody is constantly making negative comments or insults on all kinds of online posts, just trying to provoke the student to make a response back to them. Fraping is when a student finds out login information for another student and they log into their account and impersonate them and make posts without their knowledge that could be insulting or demeaning in some kind of way. And then outing is when students share some kind of private personal information about somebody that they find out without their permission. So, some different ways to cyberbully than you might originally have thought of. Here are some facts and statistics about cyberbullying. The most common type is making mean comments. 35% who had shared a screenshot of somebody's status or photo to laugh at them. 61% of teens who report being bullied say it was because of their appearance. 56% of online harassment victims reported that they had been harassed on Facebook. And then 7 in 10 young people experience cyberbullying before they hit the age of 18. I think the last one is probably the most alarming, is that the majority of our young people in our school district are experiencing some kind of cyberbullying. 7 out of 10, that's a lot. Where is this happening to our students? Of course, it's happening at home when they're on their computers or their laptops or their tablets at home, but it's also happening at school, especially in our district where students are one to one and they all have their own Chromebook. It's possible for them to cyberbully or be cyberbullied while they are at school. But of course, it can happen anywhere. Nowadays, students have cell phones and take them everywhere, so it can really happen anywhere at any time. So, what does this mean for us as a district? Well, it's a big issue that really needs to be addressed. One of the terms that you might not have ever heard of is Bullicide. This is when students who are being bullied commit suicide. And unfortunately, students who are cyberbullied are twice as likely to commit suicide as those who aren't. And it really, even if they don't commit suicide, the negative impact is huge. It really heightens their feelings of hopelessness and creates the unstable emotional response. So it's a big deal, something that we really need to think of. A lot of districts try to use a deterrence theory where they believe that if there are harsh punishments for students, that they will not do the bullying because they're afraid to get in trouble. But statistics show that these types of harsh penalties and this type of deterrence theory does not work. Adolescents' brains are not fully developed, therefore, they can't think ahead. They don't rationalize the consequences that could happen to them if they make that mistake of doing some kind of bullying act. So, having a zero tolerance policy or publicly shaming them, any kind of harsh punishments do not work. So, when we are creating a school bullying policy, there are some things that we should make sure that we have. One is to make sure that we definitely have a specific definition of what harassment and intimidation and bullying means, especially cyberbullying. We should have graduated consequences and remedial actions for those who break the policy. We should have procedures in place for staff and students to report bullying. We should have procedures in place for investigating and what's going to be done to follow through with the complaints. We should also have language in our policy that if an off-campus behavior happens where a student is bullied outside of school, as long as it is infringing on the learning environment, that the school can discipline the students who have done that. And finally, there should be some procedures in place to help prevent cyberbullying. So our district has put in place cell phone policies, which differ from school to school. Um, most schools have some kind of policy in place. The thing that might be something you have not thought of or that you did not know is that schools that prohibit cell phone use actually saw an increase in cyberbullying reports. Okay, schools that are less than a 50% non-white especially showed that there were more cyberbullying when they had that no cell phone policy in place. Schools that were 50% or more of a non-white population of students didn't show as big of a change. They pretty much stayed the same. But eliminating cell phones is not going to eliminate the problem. So that's something that we really need to keep in mind. When looking at the Northwest Local School District Board policy, I just wanted to highlight a few things that we are doing well and that we need to continue to make sure that we are still doing is that our staff is required to report any kind of bullying or cyberbullying that they know of or see, and that all complaints are investigated, that our district implements intervention strategies to help prevent it, and that students or parents and guardians can file complaints and that we take them all seriously and investigate them all. We have semi-annual reports that are sent out to the board and posted to our website about any kind of harassment or bullying that has been investigated and found to have happened. And notice of this policy gets circulated annually, and that we have preventative education for students and training for our staff. Thank you for listening today. This is definitely something that we want to continue to look at and be sure that we are following up on every year.